Thank you very much, Chairman. I won't keep the guests too long, and thank you for being with us today. If there's an infringement on a farm and you're made aware of it, what are the laws, or where do you come into play? Do you apply to fine yourselves, the EP? Do you communicate with the farmer, or what happens?
So that's the Good Agricultural Practice Regulations, which is the responsibility of the local authorities. Pat, we went through the prosecutions earlier and the cross-reporting to the Department of Agriculture. Would you want to?
Yeah, I suppose maybe for clarity, I suppose the EPA doesn't do inspections of the farms for good agricultural practice or compliance with good agricultural practice. That is undertaken primarily by local authorities, local authority inspectors. And as I outlined earlier, if they come on a minor issue, it would be a notice to the farmer, an advisory notice, and probably a follow-up inspection. More significant, they may cross-report it to the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Agriculture will evaluate whether they will actually impose a fine or a penalty as such. And if it's much more significant, it may be that they will take prosecution under the Water Pollution Act or good agricultural practice.
So you identify the problem in the river, and the farmers in that surrounds will be notified of this issue, and they'll try and identify the farm that is causing the problem. Is that what you're saying?
So maybe taking it back, so we've identified a number of inspections to be undertaken by each local authority based on the number of water bodies that are identified as impacted significantly by agriculture. And our advice to the local authorities is to actually use the EPA maps to guide them as to where to go for the farm inspections to target the more at-risk areas.
So I think you said earlier you're the regulator for Uisce, is that correct? So what happens if Uisce are breaking the law?
We have an annual inspection programme where we're out on site with Uisce. If there's issues at a plant, non-compliances are raised, going right through to prosecutions. We've prosecuted Uisce 28 times in relation to wastewater plants and 9 times in relation to drinking water. So that's our role as the environmental regulator, which we've been fulfilling over the last number of years.
I appreciate that. I attended the meeting last Thursday night in Shannonvale in Clonakilty last week. There's a sewage system there, 27 years leaking.
Right.
They've closed off a public play park so children can't use it for the last 20 years. I think it could be Irish Water, it could be Uisce, and it could be anyone. It's seeping down its way into the Argadine River, down into Clonakilty, down to Timaleague, all that area, that raw sewages. Uisce are aware of it, EPA are aware of it, Cork County Council are aware of it, the Minister was down himself, the Minister for Housing was down himself, Darragh O'Brien, last year. Everybody seems to be aware of it, but for 27 years nothing has happened. How can anyone answer me that there's something, if you don't mind me, stinks to the high heavens here, that a sewage system that's burst for 27 years and has never been repaired, has never been replaced, obviously needs replacing, has closed off a local play park that has frustrated every resident that's living there. My whole point I'm trying to make here is that every rule and regulation is there to make sure that the farmer doesn't break the rules, and he shouldn't, or she shouldn't. But it doesn't seem to be, the same regulation doesn't seem to be there when it comes to the, well, it used to be the local authority, but now it's Uisce. And you says you have 70 areas of improvement recommended. I would love to see, are they publicised in this document here? Are they on this document?
They're on our website,
I'd
which
like
we
to see
can
that.
provide
I'll check
to
that
the
out.
committee. Yeah.
But I'd ask you, how is it that you're well aware of it, because that was brought up the last day, but it is factual, people can see it, I can see it myself. The areas are cordoned off. For 27 years this is going on, and nothing happens.
I can't speak specifically to that, to the issues in Clonakilty. I know you raised it in here directly with Uisce, and I was listening back on that.
Nobody wants to come back to me.
I suppose just that we know that there has been underinvestment in wastewater treatment plant for decades. That's the reality. We should have complied with the directive on wastewater treatment by 2015, I think, and we're nowhere near it. So there's the EPA approach is to have a priority list based on criteria for, like, the raw sewage has to be eliminated. We have 200 water bodies that are impacting directly on water quality. There's compliance with the Urban Wastewater Treatment Plant Directive that the European Court has an infringement case on. So there's 1,000 plants a lot of them need work and upgrading, and I can't speak to that, as Emer said, the specific of, you know, the prioritisation process, but there's a huge amount of work to be done on upgrading our wastewater treatment plant infrastructure, and there's, I suppose, the EPA has a prioritised approach based on the environmental impacts.
Yeah, and thank you for the answer. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that the farmer's out there, and he's as soon as there's an infringement noted, he must correct it or find, or most likely could get fined anyhow, correct it or not. But the whole point, it looks to me as if there's a law for one and a law for another here. And why, in the name of God, can a plant be leaking to the point of closing off a play park, to the point of going into a river, to the point of going into the drinking pipe of the Means water in Clonakilty, and no one gives a damn?
Well, you're talking about a particular case. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
talk
but
to you in
hugely
general about our
important
role
case. It affects thousands of
in
people.
terms of our environmental regulator role with Ishgaren. We are carrying out our functions there. We are carrying out an annual inspection plan. We're working through non-compliances. We have instances reported to us and taking prosecutions where necessary. I can't speak to the specifics of what you're raising here, but there's no one rule for one sector and another rule for another sector. We're taking the issues around wastewater as serious as we are with agriculture.
But if it came to a farmer, he wouldn't be given 26, 27 years to clean up his mess.
Well, nitrate levels have been
You
too
wouldn't expect them
high
to
in our
either.
water
You wouldn't
for the
expect it
last
to be
10
either.
years. So none of the issues that we're raising in relation to high nitrate levels and the impact from agriculture are actually new either. We've been raising these for the last 10 years and we haven't seen any improvement.
And is the report in relation to Shannonville public to see what communications you've made with Ishgaren to make improvements? Are they part of this 70 areas improvements that are recommended? Can I
check
find
that.
that out? Can you communicate back at me?
Yeah, we'll have to check.
Thank you.
I would just add that any of our site inspections, site audits that are undertaken to wastewater discharge licence sites, Ishgaren sites or industrial sites are all published on the EPA website.
So that's fine. I just, you know, the way I see it is there's a big imbalance there. When it comes to the agriculture sector, everything must be put right, and it should be right. But when it comes to Ishgaren or the council were in charge of this many years, there seems to be a little bit of leniency and movement left and right that it can drag on for over 20 years.